Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Grand Poobah Gaming's playthrough of Path of Exile. This is Sean, and I'm going to be joined by Jes. Um, this game has just recently come out in open beta, and and I've had some time to play it on my own, but this is going to be Jes's first time playing it. Our current setup for computers doesn't really allow us to do dual voice, so instead we're going to be alternating between whose point of view and whose voice it's going to be, but we're going to play through the entire thing together. I've already decided that I'm going to be playing a witch, but I'm going to be quiet while I let you tell her. Well, I let her tell you her story.
Attention prisoners! Your crimes against Orion have been exiled to the forsaken continent of Raycast. The majesties of Orion are merciful and have granted all exiles one weapon. Choose wisely. Orion has bestowed a gift upon you, a chance to redeem your crimes, a new life. Do not squander it.
They were right to fear me. If only they had listened to their cowardice. Had they not taken my home with fire, I would not have taken their children. Now I'm banished to Raycast. I've heard the dark rumors, seen the terror in the other exiles' eyes. But to me, one land is like any other. The elements are my allies, the dead are my servants, and fear will be my closest friend.
So that is the story of how your character comes to Raycast. Each one has their own story. It doesn't really it doesn't affect, as far as I know, any of the character interactions or anything like that.
Had they not taken my home with fire, I would not have taken their children. Now I'm banished to Raycast.
Just is the opening story kind of a why are you here, why are you doing this?
But to me,
it looks like I'm lagging a bit, so I'm going to cut this part out and we'll come back to it when I actually get into the game. Alright, and we're back. I ended up having to restart the entire client to get in. It's kind of unfortunate, but it is, beta, so what can you do? Now, I am going to try and figure out how to add Jes, a friend, obviously right here where it says add. Now, invite her to the party. And she is not showing up, so what we might have to do here is just wait until we get to the first town to start playing together. It's not very far. You just end up. I'll shut up during the talk.
Guess that makes us the lucky ones. Luckier than this poor bastard beside me. At any rate. Splinter sticking out of me? Missed all the important bits. I saw smoke at those ruins at the beach. Go get some help. And a mic chest.
Yeah. Apparently missed all the important bits except for that zombie that decided he's gonna eat him. So we're just gonna head up the beach here and get to the first town. It's a couple of minutes away. It's not anything real exciting. This game, a lot of people have been quoted saying it's everything that Diablo 3 should have been, and I would agree that it does improve on a lot of things that Diablo failed on. I've only actually at this point completed the game on normal difficulty, so I don't actually know how things end up being later on, but so far I've really been enjoying the game. There, no game's perfect, but this game is definitely pretty darn close as far as an action RPG goes. I haven't played too many of them, so I guess maybe my view is a little biased, but first off, I'd like to say, thanks to the guys at Grinding Gear Games for letting us do a playthrough of this. There'll be a link in the description to their website if you're interested in getting this game for yourself, and if you're into action RPGs, or if you were into it even enough to consider buying Diablo 3, I would say you cannot go wrong with this, because it's completely free to play, all microtransaction. It's not a pay to win model. You can play the game and you can beat the game. You can be, as good as any other player without paying any money. Some of the things you can buy are like aesthetics and extra stash slots, and I just DC'd. I will try and log back in again. It's a beta game, so there's a bit of an issue. Mind you, at least you can play this game and you're not getting an error 37. So, went up on Diablo there. They actually had quite this smooth launch day. But since then, they have had some issues that they're trying to work on. They also do have quite the active support staff, so that's also nice to see. I'm going to cut away again and come back when I have been able to log back in. So I've come back and it started me at the beginning of the zone again. So I'm gonna go through that real quick again off screen and come back when it's all done. Alright, and we're back. I've managed to make it through that part, did not get disconnected at the door this time. So this is Lion's Eye something or other. The first town that you'll come to. It's pretty basic. Some people to talk to. You stash here. As you can see, I have a bunch of stuff in here from my other characters, and so it's gonna give me a bit of a early game advantage, because I have all this stuff that I can access. As you may notice, there is no money, there's no gold, there's no currency of any sort. The way things work is there's crafting items that work kind of like a currency, in that you can trade other players for them, and you can trade them to vendors. I'm gonna shut up right now and go through the speeches that Nessa and Vistal have. So, enjoy.
Welcome to our home away from home, for what it's worth. I'm Nessa, that putrid giant you just laid to rest. That was Hillock. You're lucky. He's eaten stronger exiles than you. Don't count on that luck lasting. It's in short supply here in Rayclast. Still, you've rid us of a curse, and we owe you our thanks.
Lana's watch isn't much, but it's ours. We could use you here, while you live. But should you wish to venture out, do just one thing for me. Out on the coast, amongst the wreck, there must be a ship's medicine chest. I have many to care for, and there's only so much I can do with herbs and seawater.
A wayfish, waterlogged witch, washed up in Rayclast. That's the first line of the poem I'm writing about you, Exile. Easy, girl. You could scorch a bloke with a look like that. The name's Bestel, captain of the good ship Merigo. And that's my Merigo as well. My crew is here. But my wits repay after that fashion. There's an island, a hop skipping away offshore from Terraces. That's where my Merigo ran aground. Watched the locals spit roast the ship's doctor, but his medicine chest might still be there, amongst the splinters and bones. It'd have everything Nessa might need. Dr. Shakyhead's Opton was lousy with a scalpel and even worse with a sword, but he knew his apothecary. Explains the shaky hands, if you ask me.
Fine work with Hillock. Where'd you learn to fight like that? No, don't tell me. We exiles have no history. Dominus took it from us the moment his black guards dumped us in the water out there. It's just live or die now. Here, have one of these, and no need to thank me. I'm thinking of myself and the others here. The longer we fighters live, the longer everyone lives.
So that's what everyone has to say. In this game, instead of picking your skills, you get these skill gems, which can be leveled up as you go, which increases their power, but also increases their cost. You get a fair amount through quests, but you also find a bunch from drops. Here's one of the most interesting parts of Path of Exile. This is the passive skill tree. As you can see, there is a lot of things here. Each one of these 6 nodes here, that is the starting place for each of the classes. This top one here is Witch. To the right is Shadow. Down here is Ranger. At the bottom here is Duelist. Bottom left is Templar. No, this is not Barbarian, Marauder. And top left here is Templar. And basically everything, well, not basically, everything is linked together. You can take a witch, which starts off completely intellect, and if I wanted to, I could build it all the way down here into pure strength. Wouldn't make much sense if I'm, starting off as a witch, but the option is there. You can build it wherever you want, whatever you want, depending on your play style. I have decided I'm going to be going for a more summoning creatures kind of build. So my first node here is going to be Lord of the Dead. That's what I'm going to try and get to first. We'll see how that goes. From there, I have no idea where I'm going. That's just part of the fun, I guess. So, we're gonna vendor this extra crap I don't need. As you see here, you get these scrolls of wisdom, which are very good early on, but you get tons of them later, so it becomes less useful. Just messaging Jes, a little confusion. The gripe that I have that would stand out the most is parties are, it's very easy to lose track of your other party members. As you can see, like, I can mouse over these people and they turn green because they're friendly, but that's really it. And you'll probably tell later on, it's very hard to even keep track of your own character, let alone your party. You can, when you're in vendors, you can just hold down control and left click and it'll put it in there, and same to take things out. That works for most vendor like screens. As you see when I mouse over Jes here, her character's name is Serenia. At the top middle part you'll see a red health bar with blue around it. That's another way that this varies from Diablo, is that there's a thing called an energy shield, and the red health is obviously her health, the blue is the energy shield. How that works is it will take damage from your energy shield before taking it from your health. There are certain exceptions to this, like chaos damage completely avoids the shield. So obviously going all energy shield is not gonna save you if you're going against something with chaos. So we're going to head out into the terraces. Kept wanting to say terrorists. We're not heading out there. This notice board, you'll see a bunch of texts and levels and players and stuff. Those are public parties. I very much enjoy that feature, though I would appreciate if the game was a little more party friendly. It does increase your items that are dropped, and it makes the monsters a fair bit harder, but obviously the extra people makes up for it.
There's a power here that welcomes me.
So we're off to look for the medicine chest.
I need more mana.
So I am working on summoning some zombies here from the corpses. Now, as you saw there, I ran out of mana, and there's a fairly ingenious system for how you get mana and how you keep your mana up, and that is through flasks. If you see in the bottom left hand corner, you'll see 1 through 5, and those are my flasks. Red ones being health, blue ones being mana. and when I kill things, you will see that I will gain charges, and when I gain charges I can use them. Each use costs X amount of charges, so by killing things I can keep those charges up and keep up my regen. I'm not 100% sure what Jess was doing there. She's farting around. She, as I said, she's new to this game, so she'll be a lot slower than I will, so I'm gonna try and not run away. So to see that blue thing just popped up, that means that my blue gem has leveled, and my zombies can be, I can level up that skill, and I can also level up my spark, which is this lightning that I shoot out. There is a reason not to level up gems, and it becomes much more apparent later on, in that when you raise gem levels, they also increase the mana cost, which it also increases the amount of stats you need, but that's less important because it won't let you level it up if you don't have the stats for it. However, you do run into issues later on if you level up your gems and then you get you'll get what's called a support gem, and those gems here on this item, there is a link in between the two gems. That means that I could put a support gem in one of the slots and put a skill gem in the other, and it would add some effect to the skill. But with that, it also increases the amount of mana it costs, but it doesn't increase it at a flat rate. It increases it by a percentage, and that percentage, if you have been leveling the skill, that percentage ends up taking a big toll if... Oh, I almost died there. It ends up being a pretty big deal later on if you have a gem that is costing you, 100 mana, and then it's also multiplied by like 140%. That's a fair amount of mana. But there's also gear that has multiple linked gem sockets, so you can have multiple support gems on one skill, meaning that 100 mana is going to be multiplied by that percent a couple of times, and that's when you start running into issues with a lot of mana. Here you'll see
Too much clutter.
that mob was a orange name, and they're usually fairly difficult to beat. We had a little bit of issues there, but luckily we didn't die. The orange named mobs later are a fair bit more difficult. Jess is complaining that I stole the yellow item off the ground. See, when you pick up yellows and blues, they're unidentified. In Diablo, you just right-click on it and be on your merry way. Not much, there wasn't much of a win-lose. There was no risk factor. In Path of Exile, you have these scrolls of wisdom that you use on the items to identify them, and so you don't want to just identify everything, otherwise you're going to run out of scrolls. You couldn't do that. So you want to kind of pick and choose. If something doesn't have any of the stats you want, there's not really any point in identifying it, so you can just toss it. But if there's a chance you're going to get the stats you want, then it might be worth that risk. Jeff did bring up a good point. The party loot in this game kind of sucks in that you have a certain amount of immunity when something drops to pick up that item before anyone else in the party can, but it's such a short time that it often leads to someone else taking your item, especially if you're doing something important like kiting something. Then it can be a real burden. Just waiting for Jess to come through the portal here. Gonna switch some items around here. Jess also brought up another good point. In this game, again, I'm gonna be comparing it to Diablo because that seems to be what everyone wants to do. You can't go and pick up everything because you don't have automatic, teleport to town button. You can't just teleport whenever you want. You have to get scrolls that will allow you to teleport, and those scrolls don't drop as often as you need to go back to town. So you either have to find a waypoint and teleport back, or leave things on the ground. Obviously, the latter of the two is going to be the one most people will pick. But you do learn as time goes on what items are worth picking up and what ones are just better off left on the ground. So we're on this island looking for the medical chest or medicine chest, something like that. We're looking for their stash of drugs. If you've played Diablo, then you're you will probably be fairly familiar with how the combat works. You have your keybinds, you have your mouse clicking, and you have shift to attack from your position, all that kind of good stuff, kind of things you'd expect. Now we're playing on normal difficulty. Oh, here's the named mob again, Hail Drake. As you see, I'm very much slowed down from his ice spear, and there is actually a chance he could freeze me, which would be very bad because he hits hard. Although apparently we're not going to have that much issue because Jes is just showing him who's boss. Green items are quest items, so when you kill something, everyone gets one. I'm out of inventory space. I'm playing inventory Tetris here. I have a portal scroll, so I'm just gonna open up a portal here and go back to Lion's Watch. We'll go through the quest conversation, and then that will be, we will call it for this episode. Next episode, you're going to be led both in voice and point of view by Jes. So yeah, here's the quest text. If you enjoyed this, thumbs up. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave it in comments. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks and have a good day.
A medicine chest. This means more to us than you can know. There are some who wouldn't have lasted the night without it. Take this, in return for the knowledge that one can do more than suffer in Rayclast. You and Tarkley, you give us something better than serums and souls. You give us hope.